Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Blockchain Community Day 2024 conference, and I'm your host, Sergei Konstantinov. Today, we are exploring the exciting world of NFTs beyond the $1 million art, and I encourage you to stay till the end, or you might miss out on the secret to filling your cryptocurrency wallets with millions. Just kidding, but it's going to be really interesting, trust me. And we're lucky to have with us Daniel Simpson, our special guest. Daniel, please join us on the virtual stage. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Sergey.
Thank you
Hi.
for being here today. Could you say just a few words and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So very briefly, I'm a senior business analyst and blockchain consultant with EPAM. I've been following and involved in the space now for many years, back as long ago as 2014 when I kind of heard about Bitcoin and been kind of involved in several different areas in consulting since then.
Thank you, Daniel. And well, before we get started, a quick reminder to our audience. Whenever you have a question, just drop it into the chat during the talk, and we will answer your questions right at the end of the talk. All right, let's get started. Take it away, Daniel. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Sergey. Just share my slides here. Okay, so today just want to talk a little bit about NFTs and tokenization, which continues to be a big talking point in the blockchain and DLT world, as I think all of you are probably aware. Some of the earliest and biggest buzz around NFTs seem to be around electronic art, and these still catch the headlines. So you probably heard about this kind of strange-looking artwork, such as the CryptoPunk collection. One CryptoPunk, for example, was sold for a staggering $6.6 million towards the end of 2021. What made it so expensive? Well, it was someone who possibly saw it as something cool and as a collectible. Maybe he or she saw it as a long-term investment opportunity. It had something they perceived as being valuable. And it was certainly someone who had a lot of crypto to spend, for sure. But what are NFTs? Just thinking about the fundamentals. Probably many of you are familiar with the kind of basic concept. And if you are, you can think of this first minute or two as a kind of a recap or reset of your understanding. But essentially, an NFT is a non-fungible token, and it's a type of digital representation for ownership, a proof of authenticity, or a proof of access rights to something. It's nowadays stored and controlled in a digital format, and a necessary attribute is that no two tokens in a set are identical. Each NFT could belong to the same collection or type, but unlike cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, which are fungible and can be exchanged one-to-one, NFTs are unique and not generally splittable, making them ideal for representing unique items. Digital NFTs do not necessarily need to be created and controlled in a decentralized way, but DLT and Web3 tech is certainly a good fit for true self-sovereignty and control over those digital assets. Therefore, most quote-unquote real examples of NFTs you hear about are generally set up and managed on a blockchain platform of one sort or another. The concept of tokenized collectibles is actually nothing new. Physical collectibles like baseball cards in the US were invented way back in the early 1950s. And indeed, the record for the most expensive baseball card ever sold was a Mickey Mantle 1952 card, which transferred in 2022 for about $12.6 million. Other examples of physical tokens include a ticket to a music or a sports event that has a specified seat number, a lottery ticket, or even as simple as a cloakroom tag in a nightclub. where the owner claims the right to retrieve their jacket at the end of the night. So expensive stuff, collectible stuff, or just plain simple stuff that's been around for years in a physical form. So we can see the actual concept of a non-fungible token has been around for a while. You could say these types of physical tokens are the equivalent of paper money or coins in the equivalent fungible token class, and all these preceded computers and decentralized systems. Moving on to the digital world. So the concept of tokens has also existed for some time. Anyone playing interactive first-person games such as Fortnite will understand the concept of digital items of value. These types of P2E or play-to-earn worlds reward in-game achievements and milestones with items and collectibles that can be used or traded within the game space. A very different type of token that's been around for some time is one used for client computers to access web services. When a user logs into a website, for example, the server creates what's known as a bearer token and sends it to the client machine. The client application then saves the token and includes it every time it sends a request to the same server. The server then simply verifies the validity of that token, and the token contains all the information needed to prove that validity. But circling back to our more blockchain-based examples, let's dive into some things beyond the million-dollar art, starting with the world of sport. So the Australian Open is a major event on the pro tennis circuit. Back in 2022, the Open released its first collection of NFTs called the Art Ball Collection. Each ball has unique color and pattern and is attributed to a specific small area of the typical tennis court, and this is known as a plot. So there are around 8,500 NFTs minted in this collection. And during the real life tournament, if a winning tennis ball in a match lands on your plot, then the NFT kind of spins and lights up in some way. So it's kind of like a lottery game, really. And winning NFTs can then be exchanged for specific match tickets. I also see the Australian Open was giving out free tickets for all of their token holders to the matches. And it looks like they've done this for the past couple of years or so. I don't really know how successful this was for the Australian Open itself or what their perception or metric of success was, but personally, as a tennis fan, I like this idea. Simple in terms of understanding the rewards and the rules behind it, and the NFTs are fully tradable on OpenSea. The collection was created on the Ethereum network using a compliant ERC 721 smart contract structure. There was an initial public minting event where the whole collection was created, although I did see one review video claiming that the initial minting and buying process was somewhat slow and frustrating, possibly because a large number of people were trying to mint and claim tokens simultaneously in a very short buying window. But overall, I think it was fairly successful. You can see here a sample of the ball collection from the OpenSea marketplace, all very pretty. Each of the balls' art was created using an algorithm to create the patterns, and it's worth noting the last sales price here, which is kind of quite a lot lower than the sort of crazy art prices that we were talking about earlier. I think these are kind of like sort of around the $100 mark, so kind of realistically priced, as it were. Another similar example, again on the sporting theme, is the NFL All Day Project. The NFL is the National Football League in the US. And back in 2022, the NFL launched a collection and game called NFL All Day. This was based on a similar NBA successful basketball version. It's on a collectible card theme, and the cards are known as moments. This is because every card is an ownable short video clip of a recent or historical game. Players can purchase new moment packs or buy and sell on a very user-friendly secondary marketplace. There are several gameplay challenges involved where moments can earn you points. For example, you pick several players in different player positions from your collection, and then they compete in some kind of virtual game in exchange for points or other moments. Other tasks include the burning of moments in exchange for points, which you can use later, and this would burn the corresponding NFT on chain. Unlike the Australian Open collection, prices can vary from $1 for more common collectibles to hundreds or thousands of dollars for the more well-known players or for the famous moments. I checked out NFL All Day, and it does seem like a very active and engaging experience. The site is simple and intuitive. The graphics for the moments are great, and the Dapper wallet seems very easy to use, especially for those not so familiar with crypto concepts. And also, I think it's kind of nice, the cards. It's kind of like a nice nostalgia back to the physical collectibles mentioned earlier. Again, exactly how successful this project has been for the creators and the NFL, I'm not sure. I've seen reports that their revenue was down last year in terms of NFT primary market sales, but the site does seem to be very dynamic and evolving. And it also seems to have been received positively from NFL fans as well. It does strike me that the players with more money to spend will probably be more successful in most challenges and in unlocking the various benefits because they can simply purchase a lot more. But with these types of worlds, I think users just find their level based on how much they're willing to spend, and how much time they want to spend playing. The technology on this project is NFTs minted on the Flow blockchain. Flow uses a proof of stake type consensus model and an associated wallet app called Dapper. Interestingly, the Dapper wallet used by NFL All Day supports both crypto and non-crypto payments. It handles non-crypto by converting the user's fiat money immediately to more practical USDC stablecoin. So the two sports examples we just looked at very much focus on brand engagement by offering digital items, which are collectibles, but also have some kind of gamification and utility value to them. And I think that's very important. There are many sports brands realizing potential in the NFT arena, including others like Zrun for virtual sports, virtual horse racing. And this trend is set to continue with companies and brands seeking very new and engaging marketing ideas, especially using Web3 to engage audiences. So I want to move now to a very different industry and some specific projects utilizing tokenization for the physical world, specifically that of property ownership. When it comes to owning property in most quote unquote developed nations, the technology tends to be very old school. In the UK, for example, we have what's known as a title deed. This is a scanned document held by the UK Land Registry, a government organisation. It lists out details of the sale, the legal previous and current owners, a map confirming the boundaries of ownership, and a handful of other details. When the property changes hands, the buyers and sellers generally need to involve lawyers to handle many aspects of a sale, including the retrieval and update of those land title docs when the sale is being prepared. And this process can be quite cumbersome. NFTs and digital ledgers provide the possibility of adding some great efficiency to this process. And again, we see the recurring theme of putting certain areas of control firmly back into the hands of the owners, the buyers, and the sellers. I think another major benefit can be to replace, at least partially, national database record keeping. And this, in my opinion, is often an understated benefit of some other blockchain and DLT initiatives in general. So there's also there's often a lot of talk around taking back control and not having to trust intermediaries or centralized entities. And these are indeed extremely valuable. However, those current incumbent entities will also understand the benefit of just not having the responsibility anymore of maintaining and securing this vast amounts of ownership information. So it's not just a case of people not trusting these intermediaries, but it's like the intermediaries themselves will see the benefit of this technology, because it kind of reduces the burden of handling data and sensitive information as well. And the tech, of course, does not take away the valuable work that legal representatives do to help protect the buyers and sellers. But having blockchain, NFTs, and self-sovereign identity control at least some record keeping is a very promising use case. I think this is a particular value where national databases and record keeping are not well established or not well trusted, which is certainly the case in many jurisdictions around the world. Also, adding tokenization can open up the possibility of fractional ownership, meaning it offers a very practical way of buying a small amount. Okay, so one example of a property tokenization initiative is RoofStack. Or rather RoofStock, excuse me. RoofStock is actually the first example I've seen which offers an entire house to be bought and sold on chain. Property is legally wrapped inside an LLC company in a traditional off-chain way, of course. RoofStock then mints an on-chain token for the house on Ethereum, and then real-life legal work is done to ensure that the token holding is legally considered proof of ownership over the LLC company. And in turn, the LLC company is the owner of the property. So this to me shows quite a solid link between a token and that token acting as a legal proof of a real world asset. RoofStock, as I understand, is operating in the US state of Wyoming, which has become well known as one of the more forward-thinking US states in the crypto space. It should be noted here that, importantly, due diligence is in place to verify the identity of buyers, as well as KYC and AML check them. I can see that once ID checks are complete, RoofStack then send a separate non-transferable token to the buyer's address. This then enables them to receive their token when they buy a property, and this is all controlled by relevant smart contracts on Ethereum. So all this to me seems like a very efficient process. The transfer does not need any exchange of legal documents once the LLC has been set up. That's all that needs to be done. Okay, the final use case we'll look at briefly involves using an embedded NFC chip inside a physical item and activating or creating an NFT by scanning the chip. And this concept is relatively new. The Dior fashion house is one such example. It involves an item of clothing. In this case, it's luxury trainers, or sneakers, as they would say in the US, having an NFC chip inserted, and that chip will contain a digital encryption key, which in turn ties the pair of trainers to an NFT token. In the case of Dior, we're talking about a luxury item, of course. Their B33 retails for just over $1,000 each. And the NFT serves as both a certificate of authenticity for the shoes and also as an access right to a personal and secure platform offering various other dedicated services. Those services could include manufacturing information and announcements regarding future shoe launches. This innovative approach is being explored by other brands also. So it's interesting that the inserted chip is serving as a powerful means of preventing counterfeit goods also. I can envisage that a large number of manufacturers of physical items like these will want to bind their products to some kind of token held on a distributed ledger, which in turn can also be attached to a public key corresponding to the original manufacturer. So the end result is a solid proof of authenticity and ownership, proof that the product is manufactured by the brand who claims it did, and a possible verification proof that the owner is indeed the owner via an NFT held on a blockchain-based account. And that account only the owner can control. And both the manufacturer and the owner of the item can therefore prove this to anyone using relevant digital signatures attached to their token. And I don't believe it's just expensive luxury goods that can benefit from this tech. A multitude of household items could come with a chip inserted, which when scanned mints an NFT that could serve simply as an activation of a warranty or a product guarantee. So recently, for example, I bought a kind of a new electric shower. There's a telephone number that you call to activate your warranty, and I can see, in the future that goods could just come with that chip inserted. You scan that, and it kind of it just kicks off that level of service and that warranty period automatically, as well as having a digital twin attached to the item. Aside from retail use cases, some supply chain systems are also leveraging NFC chips and some decentralized elements to create powerful end-to-end proof of provenance systems. Okay, so I just want to sort of wrap up today by briefly talking about some efforts we currently see around making life a bit easier and safer for the end users of NFT. This is something we definitely see across many blockchain and Web3 areas at the moment. And that's trying to abstract away the tech a little, or in other words, improving or making seamless the end user experience for those not familiar with the intricacies of the tech. Currently, in many NFT initiatives, the main smart contract publishing, minting, and transferring actions usually require at least a basic understanding of what the processes are doing, and in most cases, the use of a non-custodial wallet setup, which means an understanding of keys and tokens. Some current projects aim to move in the direction of improved user experience by creating more intuitive wallets, in some cases removing references to public keys altogether, which is the case with the Dapper wallet that I'm showing here on this slide. Some companies are opting to go for a more sort of self-owned or company-controlled, I should say, custodial type of wallet. And this might involve the user logging onto a subpage of a company's website after their main login to access their crypto or digital wallets. The end owner of an asset would therefore not be burdened with things like wallet security or understanding keys, and will probably benefit from a slicker user interface in the same style as the main website. And this does introduce some risk with centralization, of course, but the general theme and what it seems a lot of initiatives are going for now is adoption, and therefore trying to make the overall UX experience much better, more seamless, and just easy, with an easier onboarding process as well. Okay, and I think that concludes everything I wanted to talk about today. Hi again, Sergei.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for that great presentation. Well, we have a question for you, and let me read it out. So, are there any examples of fractional ownership for property?
So fractional ownership. There's an example called Honeybricks. So Honeybricks allows investors to invest in real-world building projects. It's kind of like a syndicated, if I remember rightly, real estate project in the traditional space. So, like the example of Roofstock that I was talking about, they essentially wrap a project in an LLC or a limited company wrapper, and then the LLC in turn is then divided into a given number of shares, which can then be issued in a kind of tokenized way. I understand that's been quite successful. I recall the kind of the units can go down to around about $1,000 as well. So if you think about, you know, a typical property which is $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, whatever, then it's it kind of creates the opportunity to yeah, just to own that kind of small amount of that property. We're talking about big big project initiatives here, kind of multi-use complexes and that kind of thing. Everything is controlled on chain as well, so smart contracts can kind of restrict who you transfer it to. They've got like a white list as well, and as Roofstock, as the Roofstock example as well, you can kind of handle kind of legal and regulatory issues by kind of programming that into the smart contract. So, for example, if a token holder has to hold a token for a certain amount of time, you can kind of layer that into the programmability of the token as well to restrict things like that. So, yeah, one example I could think of for sure.
All right. Okay, since we are pretty tight on schedule, if you guys have any more questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat and we will contact you and reply back. And that, well, actually, that wraps up our today's session. And I would like to thank Daniel for your wonderful talk. Thank you very much. And we hope everyone found it useful.
Thanks,
And
Sergei.
I would like, yep. And I would like to thank everybody for joining. And before we finish, I would like to invite you to join our next talk, AI multiplied by crypto. How does it look and how does it work? Well, it'll start in a couple of minutes, so don't go far. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.